today we have another home DIY project, and for this one it's actually a dresser I found at Goodwill. I was so excited when I saw it, I couldn't believe it was still in the store. And it's a Drexel dresser, and if you do a quick Google search or look on eBay, you'll see that they are vintage pieces of furniture. I bought another Drexel dresser a few years ago at a Goodwill, and I was able to flip it for a profit as well. But this one I'm excited about because we are actually keeping it and putting it in our primary bedroom. As I began to take out the drawers and start on the project, I was pleasantly surprised when I found this hidden cubby inside the dresser, and the only way to access it is by taking out one of the drawers. So I thought that was super cool, kind of like a secret compartment. I'd never seen that in a dresser before, so as you can see in the video, I am very excited about this finding. I began by sanding the top of the dresser first, and this took so long. I don't know if it was because of my sander, it just wasn't powerful enough. The existing stain on this was very difficult for me to remove with the sander. It took a lot of elbow grease. I even got a new sander halfway through this project that had a little more power to it. So I've sanded the top only of the dresser. The bare wood is coming through very nicely. So now I'm going to go and sand the rest of this outer shell. At this point, I have sanded the whole dresser with an 80 grit sandpaper, and now I removed all of the dust on top, on the sides, got rid of all of the dust, and I made sure to clean the inside too. I'm going to go clean it again just to make sure it is completely dust free before I move to the next step. What I'll be doing next is applying this wood conditioner. I had originally seen this color combo on Frills and Drills page on Instagram, and if you haven't heard of her or haven't seen her page, you have to check her out. She's amazing at what she does. But for a few of her projects, she has used this magical stain combo, and I basically copied the whole thing except for the top stain, which I'll get to. I'd never used these products before. I mean, I used top coat and stain, but I hadn't used the wood conditioner and I hadn't used the whitewash before. So it was really interesting, but super easy to use, and it was really cool to kind of see the magic happen before my eyes. I started off by doing the wood conditioner. After I followed the instructions for the wood conditioner, I let that dry completely, and then I put on the whitewash. And I'm going to let this play out in mostly real time, fast forward it a little bit, but just so you can see how I'm applying it and what I'm exactly doing. I want to note for the whitewash, you'll see when I do the side, it's pretty sloppy, my application. I just use the staining sponge and I wipe it across. But in the end, that is what my dresser now looks like, if that makes sense. So the way I wiped the stain on, that's exactly how it looks like. The top coats, even though I applied the next coats all smoothly, this showed through. So be careful when you're applying and make sure it's the finish that you'll be happy with and that you're good with. For the Minwax weathered oak stain, I was initially using the staining pad, but it wasn't grabbing onto the dresser like I thought it should be, so I used a brush instead, and that worked perfectly. I just applied it evenly across. Well, the dresser is coming along. So what I've done so far is I used my conditioner, the color wash, and then the stain. I really like the stain, it's so pretty. And the whitewash is definitely coming through. It's a little bit more rusticy looking than I was hoping, but I'm gonna put my Varnithane, my next stain color, on top and hope for the best. The next step was applying the Varnithane. So the version that I copied this from uses Varnithane Briar Smoke, and the finish is absolutely beautiful, but my store did not have it in stock. So instead, I chose a color that I liked that was a little bit lighter, and I went with Varnithane Western Oak. So if you want this exact finish, those are the colors I used, but just so you're aware, you could do different stains on top depending on what type of a finish you're looking for.
Then I used the Varithane Triple Thick Polyurethane Top Coat to seal everything off.
Now onto the drawers. So for the drawers, take off the hardware, and after I took off the hardware, I cleaned everything off with a TSP cleaner, got rid of those years and decades of grease and dirt and smudges, cleaned it all off, and then I was ready to go in, and I'm using Rust-Oleum chalk paint in the color Chiffon Cream. I've used this before on many of my pieces that I've refinished, dressers, tables. It's beautiful. I love it. It's not like a bright white and it's not a brown. It's just like the perfect cream color. So for that, I'm only painting the drawers. I have to usually use about 3 coats of this. So I painted, let it dry, and it dries pretty fast. And then I just did my 3 coats of paint. After it was all dry and completely white, without any of the wood showing through, I sanded it to make it nice and smooth. When I was sanding it, some of the brown wood from underneath would show through. So all I do when that happens is I just touch up those areas again with paint, let it dry, and if need be, sand again just to make sure everything's smooth. So I just sand it as best as I can to get most of it the finish that I want. And I sanded it several times. Sanded, vacuumed and wiped the dust off, sanded again, just kind of feeling in between the coats to see how smooth it was. And it was very smooth. I used a 320 grit sandpaper. For the look I was going through, I did not want any distressing, but if you're looking more for like a farmhousey look, you can definitely distress it. I don't think you can see on camera how smooth this is, but here is one of the drawers. I have to go back on top on a couple of these areas and paint it, but what I did is I sanded it with a 320 grit sandpaper. That's right, 320. That's the first time on the Brictoria channel, but it feels so smooth. Like the cabinets that are already painted at like Lowe's or Home Depot, that's what this feels like. So I'm very excited that I have that finish. I am gonna go on top really lightly now, and I'm just gonna try to get these wood grains that are coming through because I want the drawers to be completely white. I'm gonna see if I can get these and avoid having to sand again, but if I do, I'll just very lightly do it because the finish looks great. I used a polyacrylic top coat. It's very important that if you use white paint, you use polyacrylic water-based top coat to seal it all instead of polyurethane. Polyurethane, even if it's water-based, will yellow over time. Trust me. Before putting all of my drawers in the dresser, I wiped down the insides because it was full of dust and I want to make sure it is nice and clean. I put the drawers in, and that is when I realized that the doorknobs were not salvageable and that I would not be able to use them. So I took those off, headed to Amazon, found these really cute handles for the pulls and knobs for the top piece. I've gotten a lot of compliments on the color of this dresser, how the wood looks like it's an expensive piece of furniture, and I couldn't agree more. I love it, and that's nothing to say about me. It's just this color combo that I got from Frills and Drills, and I am definitely going to be using it for other furniture going forward. This is after sanding with the 320 grit sandpaper. As you can see, there are some spots where the original wood underneath is coming through, but it is smooth to the touch. So now I'm just going to go back on top with my paintbrush and just touch up those little spots. Initially, when I was in the store and I saw that the remaining hardware was inside one of the drawers, I thought I just needed to reattach all of them, but unfortunately, the hardware was broken, and to have fixed it, I would have needed to weld pieces back together. I do love the vintage hardware, but for this project and wanting to go for the mid-century modern look, getting the new hardware was the right decision, and it worked out great. Here's another before and after so you can get a good look of what this dresser went through. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and be sure to check out our other DIY projects.